What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sam the Beard Guy channel. So today we're going to be looking at some string parts that I wrote recently for a Christmas Eve service just a few weeks ago. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of go through them and talk about some of the technique that I used, and I don't know if strategy is the right word, but some of the theory concepts and just some writing tips, and then just some things I didn't like. The cool thing about doing string charts like this and doing this many and then not really getting a rehearsal until the music's been printed is some stuff just doesn't translate the way you think it does. And so every year, I'm learning more and more about just writing strings and whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to share some of that stuff, go through it, like, sub, share, all the things that y'all do to help the channel. That is much appreciated. So kind of let's get into this. So the first thing to talk about that definitely takes some just shifting of mindset is when we think of string sections, we kind of, I think, naturally think of the orchestra string section where you have 30 violins and 20 violas and 20 cellos or whatever, however many there are. We usually think of violins as multiple violins playing at the same time. And what makes a string section, this is super rudimentary, but what makes a string section sound full is because it's all fretless. Everyone plays just a slightly different intonation or tuning than the person sitting next to them. And so when you have 30 people playing slightly out of tune and slightly differently, you create this big sound that stacks up. If every single violin played the exact same thing and you just copy and pasted it 30 different times, you would not have a fuller sound. It'd be phasey, it'd be weird. So what makes a string section as powerful as it can be is when it's stacked with all the little imperfections, those are stacked together, and that creates just depth and width and just size for strings. And so one of the tricky things about writing in this type of context is I only have 4 string players. And so we had violin 1, violin 2, viola 1, and viola 2. In the past, we've done cello instead of a viola 2, but we went with 2 violas this year. And so you'll see as I go through this, there are times where I treat it as a string quartet. There are times when I treat just all 4 strings as one instrument. I'll do 2 parts, 3 parts. And so as you're writing this, or as I'm writing this, and I don't really have the full band playing along with it, I have to kind of hear it in my head of, all right, this is going to be a full band section. I can't have 4 parts. That doesn't make any sense. For the most part, I think there are a few times where I do something like that, but sometimes it just needs a unison line played by all 4 strings to kind of just send it. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll just kind of play through it and stop and talk through stuff as I just think of something to say. I did obviously change viola to treble clef because nobody wants to read alto clef except viola people, which is weird. So this is kind of mixed. I kind of did a little bit of stuff to it, but not really. I've got the strings louder than they would be just so we can kind of hear the ins and outs of each parts, or all the parts. So just keep that in mind. So here we go.
Well, that is what Christmas is all about, friends. Will you all stand with us? Will you join us? Let's sing to the King. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. So there's really simple call and response there. And 4 chord here. Yeah, so just simple call and response. And so here, verse 1, I want to just kind of pull back and just let the vocals take over for just a little bit. So they come in right here. Yeah, so let's talk through that. So this is 2-part here, right? And then a little sus here. And you want to make sure when you're doing like suspended, so this is a 5 chord, this is the D chord. You always want to resolve the suspension like voice leading. You want to voice lead well when you're resolving suspension like that. So it's just a nice little and I did hear I took it down to the root, but it still has some voice leading that resolves. Actually, I'm not even making sense. I went back up here. That still works too, and this is actually what went down to the E. So all harmony, then it collapses. So just little things like that. You have 4-part harmony here. Hark the herald angels sing, and then it collapses into just to add a little bit of weight and emphasis to that part of the line. And then it goes back to here. It's really kind of 3-part harmony. You'll see a lot of, at least in the way I do this stuff, a lot of stacking or unison octave with melody. And so if I have a violin 1 doing da, 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 I'll have someone else doing da, 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 da. When you're writing string in any kind of orchestration, really, when you write stuff up high, it is supported well with something underneath. If you write stuff just kind of on its own up high, sometimes it can sound just empty and less full. And so when you have something under, you'll see this all the time in orchestration. You know, you have high parts and you have something underneath also playing that too. That helps the people up top tune, which string players in smaller groups like this can have a harder time tuning, which you'll hear in certain moments. But yeah, having that underneath really does help just support those higher lines, and actually makes them in a lot of ways just stick out more, even though we're kind of identifying that top line as being what's being heard. Having that underneath line helps that top line kind of poke out a little bit more. And then that, and then even just this little moment right here of just like 1 quarter note rest, just to let the singer finish out the phrase, and that kind of be where your attention span goes towards, and then having the pickup line. So if we can grab that. Yeah, so they messed up a little bit of stuff in here. The articulation. Oh, oops. So I wish I didn't catch this when we were doing it live. I should have written, and this is my fault, but I should have written a little bit more legato indicators for this line. I wanted it to be more. And so that would be on my writing and not giving them clear articulations. You know, there's always kind of a give and take on over articulating string stuff, and so this would be a moment where I kind of, I didn't hear it in the moment. I should have fixed this in rehearsal, but they were just reading what they thought would be correct, and so it's not their fault. I should have marked this better. They did, I guess, kind of mess this line up. This is one of the earlier services, so it all came together later on. Yeah, so all this stuff back here, just in my head, I had just wanted something kind of playful and fun. It's all unison. Yeah, just a little playful, just kind of like call and response to the vocals. I put them in spaces where the vocal was not singing. So yeah, nothing really there. This, I'm just thinking, just some kind of like counter line that just adds a little bit of color. I don't think this moment translated the way I wanted it to. If I'd had, like, you heard this, but this kind of just tucked in, and this didn't really come out, and so that's not their fault. I probably wouldn't have written this. I didn't like even the way I wrote some of this. It just felt. Let's go back and. Yeah, it just felt like it was not intentional. I probably should have collapsed some more of the parts and not done. Looks like I'm doing 3-part here. This is reinforced underneath, and then some internal just movement. But even it just some of it, yeah, this is sloppy. Like this, all of a sudden, this becomes the melody. This is not. Like the voice leading just wasn't good here. That is probably harder. I guess it's easy to play. But yeah, this felt like I kind of just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, which sometimes happens. I basically did 6 string arrangements in like a week. And so I kind of flew through these, and yeah, you'll find little things that say, nah, that wasn't it. So. Yeah, so I took that counter line from earlier, and then just got everyone on it, and then made sure when I was playing piano that I was playing that hook so it existed somewhere. And I think even in the tracks there was some like a bell or something. So here. So I struggled with this part on how to write this, and I guess this is kind of tricky for them to read, but it was like because the underlying pulse, if we look here, is so I thought if I wrote a 1 that'd be the easiest way for them to get on, because I didn't want to just have I didn't want to not have this accent here and just only have that one, because that seemed trickier. So I was thinking that's tricky to read, and I'm sure with a few more reps it kind of got locked in. This was the second of 5 services for the day, so over time little things get fixed. It's really easy to get super critical or get super granular with this stuff. I mean, they did a fantastic job of reading a ton of stuff quick. We had one rehearsal, really. They didn't get a lot of time to read this beforehand, so they did a fantastic job. It's easy to kind of go, oh, well, they missed this one little thing here. Overall, especially in the mix, it translates great. So I was very happy with how they read almost everything in this. So let's go back. They find that accent eventually, yeah. That one little part when it goes here, when it goes to the 5, and I'm just like sitting on the 4, I kind of knew that might not work. It kind of works, but it's kind of out. again, I think in the mix, it's fine. Oh, that's actually yeah, 5, then 2, 5. So it's like 2 dominant back to 5. So it kind of works because you're sitting on the 4, then you're sitting on the dominant 7, but whatever. So in there, the only thing I think worth mentioning, I don't like what I did here. I wish I'd kept everyone kind of moving, but I used unison here to kind of give weight to the violin as it ascends to that top line, and then they split out into harmonies. But you'll see here, da, 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 it's reinforced 2 octaves down, and that just helps just add a little bit of weight. I kind of flip around who's reinforcing. It goes to here to reinforce, then here to reinforce. But yeah, listen to how it being in unison just kind of gives a little bit of punch, then it expands. Yeah, so here I have all this harmony or melody here. No, actually there is no harmony there. It's all, yeah, once we get out of those. So again, that's a big moment of the song. I don't need full like harmony. It would have been a miss if I'd had a ton of harmony there. So that's what I was talking about earlier, just, you know, when to use 4-part harmony, when to treat all 4 strings as one instrument. And so in these bigger moments, like if anything, looking back on it, I wish I had done a little bit more of treating it as one instrument. Like in this stuff here, that's just not translating live. That's just not doing anything. Like maybe it is kind of doing something, but it might have been more effective to have just something unison. What I struggle with when I'm writing this stuff is that just gets boring. It's a unison part. Over the years, I've done a better job of just being like, okay, well, this is what it needs, so I can't just do whatever I want. But yeah, I wish it really, my only criticism myself is in some of the places where I had too much harmony in sections where it didn't really translate. That's really what I kind of don't like about what I did on this one. But once I get into the unison stuff here, I think it works well. So. Yeah, so, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, like, this is the end of the song. I'd rather it kind of, like, coast instead of going back to the like, the kind of the heavy thing. It kind of felt better, and I think it translated that way, too, and it felt this way live. It just kind of, like, we finish the chorus, or finish the verse, or whatever you want to call it, and then we just kind of coast to the end. And then it splits to 2 harmony here. So 1, reinforce underneath, 2, reinforce underneath, and then it kind of chills on 1, and then we're done. So yeah, I mean, my only criticism of this one for myself, some of the articulations I could have been more clear on. I should have caught that in the moment, but I just didn't. And then I didn't love some of the harmony stuff I did. It just didn't translate the way I thought. Now, on some of the other songs later on in the set that we'll go over, it did translate that well. that way because there was less going on band-wise, and so you could actually hear, the 4 different parts, and then that it just translated better. And so, this is probably the first one I started on, and it probably took me writing through one to kind of get my head right. And so there's some things in here I just don't really like. Even this little thing right here, I could have written that maybe better, or maybe just written straight 16ths without any accents and then let them hop in here. But again, in the grand scheme of the mix, when the strings are kind of tucked in more, you're not going to hear this. And so, everything else, that was really those are the 2 big criticisms. A big takeaway is just using like octaves underneath unison to create some size. Definitely helps. And so let's move on to the next one. That was me struggling to play on time right off the get-go, so it's typical.
Sing joy to the world. Joy to the world, the Lord.
Yeah, so, with 4-part harmony, again, you want to be careful how you're treating the string section. So in this moment where there's not a lot going on, you can really get away with, 3 to 4 different harmonies. So you have this one little line in here, and then some kind of just stagnant tone. I love drone kind of vibes, and so I'll create drones like this. I think I do this quite a bit in this particular one. So as things get bigger, though, you have to kind of consolidate and not do 4 parts all the time, because it just doesn't translate like that. So again, with verse 1, it's like, all right, I just want some space, let the vocals kind of drive the beginning.
And let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And we will sing, sing, sing. We sing joy in the world. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. And joy.
So again, there I'm thinking, this is just reinforcing them. And it's just 2-part, right? So you just got this reinforced underneath, this reinforced underneath when it goes up the octave. I think later on I actually told them to stop doing the 8 VA. I can't remember. There's a few moments where I wrote 8 VAs and just in the moment it just didn't feel right. But they are reading what they're supposed to. She did jump up early here, which is fine. So yeah. So just drones moving up. So one of my favorite things to do, this is not like a secret or trick, but my ears love when you have a minor 6 chord and you create a suspension and resolve between the minor 3rd and the 2. So that C right here, I do it here. I love, even though it's technically just on the one chord. But here we're on the sixth. The melody's da, but I go ooh. That's one of my favorite sounds.
Their songs
And what I hate that I didn't do was reinforce that. I should have had another person playing that, if not everyone playing that, because this note is covered by the vocals. And so I should have. This is one of the hardest things with writing this stuff in isolation, is knowing how to kind of counter melody and reinforce when other things are going on. Like, I don't need the strings to always do stuff. So I'm writing this like this is a counter melody, or this is a suspension and release to this. But what I probably should have done was have all four of these be a suspension and release to something going on in the band. And so that can be the tricky thing when you're writing some of this stuff just in isolation. What I mean by in isolation is just the string. I'm just writing the string parts. I'm not like writing them to a track or writing them to something that's already happened, or even writing them to band parts that are being read. We're all reading just chord charts, like we're just playing whatever. And so that's kind of the tricky thing. This is a huge miss, I think, for me, that I didn't reinforce this. Yeah, so, and it's like I jumped to all unison here. I should have done that earlier. Like, use this to when I hopped into unison. I wish you could like select easier in PDFs, but whatever. And then yeah, just kind of simple 2-part harmony. This is just a mistake by me that I staccatoed this and then I didn't do that. But they got the they got that. Let's go back. Let's go back to this verse. And what I made a mistake by. I should have kind of indicated not to do simile when the notes started changing, because that does that doesn't make any sense. That didn't work. I should have. That was just lazy writing by me. I didn't catch that. So with some of this ascending, or just lines in the verse, I should have written that different. But hindsight's 20/20. So. His righteousness and wonders of his love and wonders of his love and wonders of his love. And we will say, Yeah, so I think I should have made all unison. Again, I'm just looking back on this stuff, what translates and what doesn't. That probably should have been all unison, which is somewhere. Yeah, definitely should have been unison. Yeah, so with bum 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 bum. But I guess that translates a little bit. I probably in hindsight would make just all melody there just to give it a little more weight. I don't think this was popping out. You can hear it when you solo it, but it's not really doing anything. Let me rewind a little bit. I want to. That was probably my favorite moment from the set. Me and the drummer played all those triplets or sextuplets together, which was fun. So we're still in here. So this is another moment where I probably written this in unison. I just kind of lost perspective on what this moment was. This should have been probably all the same line. This was fine here. I think all harmony or some harmony. Just coming up. Yeah, so I think definitely, this first part of that bridge is kind of a miss. I should have done what I did here, all you, and then it kind of expanded, but this worked because the line just kind of went two different directions. Like this kept the going, so it was reinforcing the melody, and this is kind of a counter melody to it. So I should have done something like that here. I just lost perspective when I was writing it. And this is nice, like just playing that little "we will sing, sing," and then here's my thing that I love doing, the do So yeah, and I do it again here. So I like that kind of figure. So yeah, that is that song. Let's get into the next one. So we actually kind of got into a debate as a group about how this song should have been metered out. The original chart that we're kind of basing this version of this had it as 6/8, and so they wanted it like we played this on a Sunday before this, and it was like dun, the click was dun 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 dun, dun ba-da-doo, ba-da, da, da, which I can almost say objectively is incorrect. And I text like a few drummers, a good amount of drummers, just be like, dude, like this is not in 6/8, right? So it's not really in 6/8, even though it was kind of written as 6/8 on the chart. This really is like a 12/8. I tried to chart this out in 6/8 at first just to like make everybody happy, but it was impossible. Like it's not in 6. And I thought about maybe writing it in 4, like with the triplet notation, but even then it was like, well, this just looks, there's way too many triplets. And so 12/8 really is the way this one should be written out. It takes a second to kind of understand. I mean, it's a quick 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but once you kind of get into it, it's really easy to read. This is the easiest version. When it was in 6, it was just like not happening. So, but you know, I'm a nerd, so you know, whatever. Yeah, so the only my computer is not loving running Logic while doing a video, while recording a video, while doing this. It's having some moments. But yeah, this is all simple, you know, typical like line, counterline, line, counterline, line, counterline. It's all just lines and counterlines, counter melodies. And then this tricked him up at first because it technically is dun, 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 which I think this is probably the easiest way to write this. I don't think writing it a different way would have been any better, but it does kind of look unique that when you see a quarter note you think that it's going to fit into like kind of the overall meter and feel where there's weight, and so this just looks a little weird and feels a little weird, but I mean, this is once you figure out what it is, it's super easy to read. So, and then this is, you know, it's got a swing kind of chorus. So this is the best way I could think to articulate it. What's happening here? Ooh, yeah. What did I do? Oh. So again, this is, imagine writing this in 6. It was impossible. So this is why, when I say it's in 12/8, like the people that weren't writing this chart was like, no, dude, it's in 6. Like, no, you need, like, write this one out and tell me differently. Because it really, how you write stuff out really dictates what meter it's in. And so this is definitely in 12. And I'm going to keep saying that. But this is all melody, all unison, just kind of simple. Just start the song off with just some real simple melodic lines. Yeah, so the thought here is just like, so yeah, I find myself doing a lot of like little rhythmic things and verses just to, you know, add some flavors. This is another one of those. So yeah, super straightforward. And then when I get to the chorus, I break out into two different harmonies, or one harmony, two parts. There's no octave unison reinforcement. It's just, you know, just two parts, just kind of going down the line together. And I don't remember. I don't know why I did this. This has got to be a mistake. This makes no sense. I should have done this down an octave. So I don't know why that's in there. Like, it makes me wonder if I have. This is not the wrong. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. This is wrong. Incorrect. So that's stupid. Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting, you know, like how she took it up here. A small number of group or string players, like, they do take some liberty, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. But they do, like, her instincts probably said this should go up an octave, so she took it up an octave. So, which is fine. Doesn't bother me. It's just interesting to hear like where they choose to do those things. Yeah, so this, I had to write this line. This isn't in the original version that we were looking at or referencing. So I had to write this. So I think the line works. The lines seem to be well received. I think what didn't work is this, like the violas. It's part just not being executed well. Part it just doesn't work. So it's supposed to be. This is this is supposed to be. But this just, it sounds like it kind of tripped them up a little bit. We might have got it in one of the later services, but I should have just left this out. Again, this would be cool if it was just 4 strings. It just didn't translate. So that's just one thing. This is the first time I've actually gone back and reflected on any of this stuff, and I'm just realizing how there are moments where I'm really missing the perspective of treating strings as one instrument. I should have just kept this simple and kept it as the line and moved on from it, but I didn't. We'll skip forward a little bit. So here you're going to see a little, we put in a repeat here. And by put in a repeat, I mean I completely screwed this up also and should have doubled this. So you're going to see them loop this a few times. And then they're back to here. So yeah, here, just using double stops. The thing with double stops is they usually can play, for me, can play more. There's more of them that they can do than I remember. I always think, oh, like they can only do fifths and fourths. They can do a lot of different double stops. I probably should have utilized these more throughout the set, because that does give you some just flexibility to reinforced stuff, because you basically have G's being played 1, 2, 3, 4 different times, D's being played 4 different times. You're getting a lot of reinforcement there. You're basically getting 8 string players essentially when you do double stops. So I should have done this more. I didn't. But again, hindsight's 2020. I'll get it next year. Yeah. Just so y'all know, if I haven't said this is all like Dallas String Quartet people. So this is the guy that runs it. If y'all don't check them out on Spotify, y'all should. I've gotten to do quite a few things with them over the past few years. Written some string stuff for them and played on some stuff and whatever. But yeah, he runs a fantastic little thing over in his string quartet world. So Dallas String Quartet, make sure to check them out on Spotify if you like string quartet music. So this here, the original actually doesn't, this was my idea, but we were able to do a flat 7 here instead of the normal turn. So I had to, I just did melody. Let this here just hang over to kind of create some harmony for a second. And I had a G9 here, which interesting. That's kind of nice, kind of works. Again, I don't know what I was doing here. This is a mistake. I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, back to rehearsal for this one, I just messed this chart up. Like, there were a few moments where I was like, man, this is supposed to be doubled, or what am I doing here? But yeah, it's fine. So this one was pretty straightforward. The big thing was like figuring out which meter to use. Once I got that figured out, it was fine. A lot of unison in this one and a lot of 2-part harmony, which I think translates better than some of the first ones that we went over, where there's a lot of 4-part in places where it probably shouldn't have been 4-part. And so, I just think this one, even though there was some like internal charting errors, it translated, I think, better than the other ones, because I really was simplifying some of the stuff. And it is really hard for me to simplify stuff because it goes against all my training. So let's go to the next chart. So I will say, I do not like this song. It's not anything, about the like lyrics or anything. It's just a boring song to me. So I don't love this song. I've never liked this song, but here we are. But everyone loves it, so I'm in the minority. See, this is even another moment where, like, one of the violins is choosing to play this up an octave, which is interesting. So I will say I should have... Let's do this. Let's see if that actually works. Yeah, see, I should have resolved out of that. Drones don't always feel great when you get to certain chords, and that was just a miss. So... Yeah, so they're just simple. I mean, really just two harmony there. Early on in the song, just kind of chilling. Lots of drones in this one. Lots of just kind of relaxing. So. Let's solo this. All right, here we go. Verse 3, 4. This didn't work for me. It just didn't hit. So yeah, I think just looking back on this, a lot of the verses and how I treated the verses, I didn't like what I did. And so, next year I'll get it, right? So going into the pre-chorus. Oh, we're here. Chorus. Then all two-part here. So I do remember here we decided to double this chorus, so you'll hear it done twice. Yeah, so we, I think later on I had them do this 8VA here just to kind of carry that phrase over. But this was like I said, second service of the day. Yeah, this one, kind of the same feedback for myself as the other ones where, like, the verses, I just didn't like what I did. Like, I should have probably done a different note here when I did some secondary dominants in the 5 chord. I probably should have done something different with this voice leading and harmonization here. But, hindsight's 2020, and this is all stuff like when you're moving quick and writing this stuff quick, you probably forget a little bit, but I've definitely gotten better over the years at being able to use perspective on how I'm writing for the context. Like, okay, 4 strings, only 4 people though, so I should treat more of like an instrument or 2 parts, and like be really sparing with excuse me, with the 4-part stuff. And so this is better than I've done before, there's always learning to be done. So, yeah. So thanks for watching.